As of January 2025, two significant economic and diplomatic conflicts have emerged between the United States and Japan, traditionally strong allies. These disputes revolve around Japan's diminishing investments in U.S. Treasury securities and the stalled acquisition of U.S. steel by Nippon Steel, highlighting the growing tensions in their economic relationship. In 2024, Japan's reduction in U.S. Treasury holdings marked a strategic pivot driven by various economic factors. At the beginning of 2024, Japan possessed approximately $1.15 trillion in U.S. Treasury securities, solidifying its position as the largest foreign holder of U.S. debt. However, by September 2024, these holdings had dropped by 2.4% to around $1.123 trillion. This decline is part of Japan's efforts to stabilize the yen, which has been weakening against the US dollar. In April 2024, Japan executed its largest single-day yen buying intervention, selling 5.92 trillion yen, approximately $4.83 billion, to bolster its currency. Such interventions often necessitate the sale of U.S. Treasury securities to finance the purchase of yen, directly affecting Japan's Treasury holdings. Simultaneously, China has also been reducing its U.S. Treasury holdings, a trend that has been ongoing since 2013. By October 2024, China's holdings had decreased to $76.1 billion, the lowest level since February 2009, as part of its strategy to diversify foreign exchange reserves and reduce risks linked to U.S. assets. The concurrent reduction of U.S. debt holdings by Japan and China, the two largest foreign creditors, signals deeper concerns regarding the stability and profitability of U.S. Treasury securities. Factors such as escalating U.S. fiscal deficits, potential fluctuations in interest rates, and rising geopolitical tensions are prompting these nations to strategically adjust their portfolios. Furthermore, both countries are actively seeking to diversify their foreign exchange reserves to bolster financial stability and lessen their dependence on U.S. assets. A significant driver of this shift is Japan's departure from its historically ultra-loose monetary policy. The Bank of Japan, BOJ, has adopted a more flexible approach to yield curve control and is gradually moving towards higher interest rates. This change has made Japanese government bonds, JGBs, increasingly attractive to domestic investors. For years, the low yields on JGBs pushed Japanese investors, including major institutions like pension funds and insurance companies, to seek higher returns in U.S. Treasuries. However, with JGBs now offering more competitive returns, there is a natural reallocation of assets back to the domestic market, currency stabilization, and FX interventions. A crucial element influencing Japan's recent decisions is the instability observed in currency markets during 2023 and early 2024. The Japanese yen has notably weakened against the US dollar, prompting Japan to take action by intervening in foreign exchange markets. This involved selling U.S. Treasuries to acquire dollars necessary for these interventions. Such measures underscore Japan's commitment to maintaining currency stability and enhancing its overall economic resilience in the face of global financial challenges. Additionally, Japanese institutional investors are increasingly focusing on diversifying their portfolios to better manage risks. A heavy reliance on U.S. debt can expose them to various vulnerabilities, including geopolitical tensions, interest rate fluctuations, and potential shifts in U.S. fiscal policy. As a result, Japan is actively seeking opportunities in European and Asian markets, as well as exploring alternative asset classes like infrastructure and technology investments. This diversification strategy is in line with Japan's broader goal of reducing dependence on a single economic partner. Implications for us and global economies. Japan's diminishing interest in U.S. Treasuries could have profound implications for the American economy. As one of the largest holders of U.S. debt, any significant sell-off by Japan could trigger a decline in demand, resulting in higher borrowing costs for the U.S. This situation is especially alarming in light of the increasing fiscal deficits faced by the U.S. government. Additionally, large-scale divestments from Treasuries could heighten market volatility, posing risks to global financial stability. This shift also highlights the precarious nature of global dependence on U.S. debt. As Japan adjusts its economic approach, other countries may be inclined to follow, potentially leading to a gradual decline in the status of U.S. Treasuries as a safe haven asset worldwide. Broader strategic implications, Japan's recent actions extend beyond mere economic considerations. They signify a significant strategic shift in its international relationships. The decision to decrease U.S. Treasury holdings illustrates Japan's ambition to gain greater financial independence and lessen its reliance on U.S. monetary policy. This strategic realignment is part of Japan's broader initiative to forge stronger connections with other vital partners, such as the European Union, ASEAN nations, and even China. In a parallel effort, Japan is actively pursuing diplomatic relations with China. In December 2024, Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwa visited Beijing, where he and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi participated in the second meeting of a high-level consultation mechanism focused on people-to-people and cultural exchanges. This meeting culminated in 10 important agreements designed to bolster bilateral cultural and social interactions. Furthermore, in November 2024, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba met with Chinese President Xi Jinping during the APEC summit in Lima, Peru. Both leaders expressed a commitment to fostering a constructive and stable relationship, addressing various topics, including trade and regional security. Blocked acquisition of U.S. Steel by Nippon Steel. In December 2023, Nippon Steel, Japan's foremost steel manufacturer, revealed its intention to acquire U.S. Steel for approximately $14.9 billion. This strategic move aimed to establish one of the largest steel production entities in the world, positioning Nippon Steel as the second largest steel producer globally and significantly boosting its production capabilities and market presence. The acquisition plan included assurances to preserve the U.S. Steel name, maintain its headquarters in Pittsburgh, and uphold existing agreements with the United Steelworkers Union. However, in January 2025, President Joe Biden intervened, blocking the acquisition due to national security concerns. The administration underscored the necessity of retaining domestic control over essential industries like steel manufacturing, which are crucial for national defense and infrastructure. This decision came after a thorough review by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, which evaluates the national security implications of foreign investments. In response, both Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel initiated lawsuits against the Biden administration, claiming the decision was politically motivated and lacked a rational legal foundation. They contended that the bloc infringed upon constitutional due process rights and statutory procedural norms, while also accusing domestic competitors and labor unions of anti-competitive practices aimed at thwarting the acquisition. The Japanese government expressed confusion over the decision, perceiving it as a potential strain on economic relations between the two nations. Japan's industry minister characterized the move as incomprehensible, raising concerns about future investments and the implications for U.S.-Japan economic ties. These events underscore the complexities inherent in U.S.-Japan economic relations, with Japan's reduction in U.S. Treasury holdings reflecting broader market and policy dynamics. The blocked acquisition highlights the U.S. government's prioritization of national security in foreign investments, making it essential to closely monitor these developments due to their significant impact on economic and diplomatic relations between allies. Japan-U.S. relationship over the years. The connection between the United States and Japan has been characterized by a series of significant phases, including enforced interactions, cultural exchanges, conflicts, occupations, and economic competition. Ultimately, this has led to a robust strategic and economic partnership that has developed since the mid-19th century and continues to thrive today. This bilateral relationship has significantly influenced the domestic paths of both nations and their positions in global affairs. Below, you will find a chronological and cohesive analysis of the evolution of U.S.-Japan relations, emphasizing key historical milestones, geopolitical factors, and current collaborations, all backed by pertinent facts and figures. Opening of Japan and early interactions. The contemporary bilateral relationship has its roots in the pivotal moment of Commodore Matthew C. Perry's arrival in 1853. At that time, Japan was entrenched in a policy of near total isolation known as Sakoku, which had lasted for over 200 years. Perry's fleet of American warships entered Uraga Bay, close to Edo, now Tokyo, with the clear aim of establishing trade and diplomatic relations. The display of naval power significantly unsettled the Tokugawa shogunate, which, uncertain of its ability to fend off Western encroachments and alarmed by the potential for further military pressure, reluctantly consented to open a limited number of ports to American ships. This led to the Convention of Kanagawa in 1854, marking Japan's first modern treaty with a Western nation. While the treaty was modest in its provisions, it heralded the decline of Japan's long-standing isolation. The American influence during this era extended beyond mere trade. It included early cultural and technological exchanges, such as the introduction of steamships, modern weaponry, and Western military strategies, which laid the groundwork for Japan's remarkable transformation. The Meiji Restoration of 1868, which dismantled the Tokugawa shogunate and reinstated the emperor as a central political figure, directly benefited from Western knowledge. The United States was among several Western nations that Japan turned to for assistance in industrialization, education, and constitutional governance. Japan's modernization and growing frictions. After the Meiji Restoration, Japan entered a transformative era, marked by swift modernization and industrial growth. American missionaries, engineers, and educators seized the opportunity to contribute significantly to Japan's development, helping to establish new universities and technical institutes. Concurrently, the U.S. government recognized Japan as a vital market for industrial products and raw materials. However, as Japan aimed to expand its influence across East Asia, tensions arose, occasionally conflicting with American interests. The Russo-Japanese War from 1904 to 1905 marked Japan's emergence as a formidable power in the region. While American observers admired Japan's rapid progress, they also expressed concerns that its assertive foreign policy could jeopardize U.S. commercial and strategic goals, particularly in China and the Pacific. Despite these apprehensions, both nations managed to forge several agreements, including the Taft-Katsura Agreement in 1905, aimed at minimizing the potential for conflict by clearly defining their respective spheres of influence. If you're enjoying this content, please consider hitting the like button to help us reach a wider audience. Your comments and feedback are invaluable, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and let's continue exploring this fascinating topic. Interwar years and World War II relations between Japan and the United States took a sharp downturn during the interwar period. Despite attempts at diplomatic balancing, Japan's rising nationalism and its aggressive expansion into Manchuria in 1931, followed by incursions into mainland China, prompted the U.S. to impose severe economic sanctions, including embargoes on vital resources like oil and steel. These measures jeopardized Japan's resource-dependent military efforts and fueled a growing atmosphere of distrust. After unsuccessful negotiations, tensions reached a breaking point on December 7, 1941. When Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. This bold move compelled the United States to declare war, igniting a fierce conflict that would become World War II in the Pacific. The war concluded with the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, resulting in unprecedented destruction that altered global strategic perspectives and left a lasting impact on the Japanese national consciousness. By the end of 1945, approximately 140,000 lives were lost in Hiroshima and 70,000 in Nagasaki, highlighting the catastrophic power of nuclear weapons. Post-war occupation and reconstruction, Japan's surrender marked the beginning of a transformative 7-year occupation led by General Douglas MacArthur, the supreme commander for the Allied powers. This occupation, effectively managed by the United States, introduced sweeping reforms that fundamentally reshaped Japan's political, economic, and social structures. Key aspects of this reconstruction included: 1. Demilitarization. The Imperial Japanese Army and Navy were dismantled, and Japan adopted Article 9 in its new constitution, which renounced war as a sovereign right. 2. Democratization. A new constitution was enacted in 1947, drawing inspiration from Western liberal democracies. This led to the establishment of parliamentary democracy and universal suffrage, empowering the Japanese electorate. 3. Economic and land reforms. Significant land reforms dismantled large estates to support small-scale farmers, promoting economic equality. Additionally, industrial zaibatsu conglomerates were restructured, and labor unions were legalized. By the end of the occupation in 1952, Japan had emerged as a predominantly democratic nation with a thriving manufacturing sector. Under the Treaty of San Francisco in 1951, Japan regained its sovereignty and rejoined the international community as a peace-oriented state. The U.S.-Japan Security Alliance. In the early years of the Cold War, the United States recognized Japan as a vital ally in the effort to curb Soviet influence in Asia. In 1951, both nations solidified this partnership by signing the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty, which established a defense arrangement that permitted American military forces to be stationed in Japan, particularly in Okinawa and various other bases across the country. This security agreement became a cornerstone of U.S. strategy in East Asia, allowing Japan to concentrate on its economic growth by alleviating the need for a large standing military. During the 1950s and 1960s, Japan experienced remarkable economic expansion, with annual growth rates averaging around 10%. This era, often dubbed the Japanese post-war economic miracle, was fueled by strong exports, effective government coordination, and a highly skilled workforce. American companies and consumers created a vast market for Japanese products, driving industries ranging from automobiles to electronics. Concurrently, U.S. financial and technological support, along with preferential market access, played a crucial role in establishing Japan as an industrial powerhouse. Trade frictions and technological rivalry. By the 1970s and 1980s, Japan emerged as the world's second largest economy, second only to the United States. This extraordinary achievement, however, brought about significant trade imbalances. Japanese automakers like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan rapidly captured market share in the U.S., while American products struggled to gain a foothold in Japan. This led to ongoing bilateral trade disputes, particularly in sectors such as automobiles, semiconductors, and consumer electronics. The U.S. trade deficit with Japan surged, prompting American policymakers to urge Tokyo for market liberalization and currency adjustments. Key agreements, including the 1985 Plaza Accord, aimed to alleviate trade imbalances by increasing the value of the Japanese yen against the US dollar. While this measure temporarily narrowed the trade gap, it also injected liquidity into Japan's financial system, fueling a speculative asset bubble. When this bubble burst in the early 1990s, Japan faced a lengthy period of economic stagnation known as the Lost Decade. Despite these economic challenges, both nations continued to uphold strong diplomatic and security relations. Strategic partnership in the 21st century. Since the conclusion of the Cold War and into the 21st century, the relationship between the United States and Japan has evolved into a complex partnership that transcends mere economic and military ties. At the heart of this alliance are shared values, including a dedication to democratic governance, the rule of law, and open markets. Together, the two nations have tackled a wide range of global and regional challenges, from humanitarian aid efforts to anti-piracy operations and initiatives aimed at denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. Several significant developments highlight this modern partnership. First, security cooperation remains a cornerstone of their relationship. As of the mid-2020s, approximately 50,000 to 55,000 U.S. military personnel are stationed in Japan, making it the largest forward-deployed U.S. force worldwide. Joint military exercises, such as the biennial Keen Sword and Yamasakura drills, have enhanced the interoperability of American and Japanese forces. Second, the economic relationship is robust. Japan ranks as the world's third largest economy, while the United States holds the title of the largest. Together, their combined gross domestic product, GDP, represents about 30% of global economic output, underscoring the significance of their partnership on the world stage. Bilateral trade in goods and services between the United States and Japan consistently exceeds $200 billion each year. For instance, in 2022, merchandise trade reached over $216 billion. The U.S. primarily exports agricultural products, machinery, and aircraft to Japan, while Japan sends vehicles, electronics, and machinery back to the U.S. Additionally, Japan is a significant investor in the U.S., with foreign direct investment surpassing $679 billion in 2021, which has created hundreds of thousands of American jobs, especially in the automobile and manufacturing sectors. The two nations also collaborate on technological advancements through joint research projects in fields like space exploration, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy. NASA and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, work together on missions to the International Space Station and beyond. In the private sector, American and Japanese companies are co-developing next-generation technologies, including advanced semiconductors, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen energy solutions. On a regional and global scale, both countries participate in the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, the Quad, alongside Australia and India, which aims to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific region. The US and Japan frequently align on diplomatic efforts concerning North Korea's nuclear program, focusing on deterrence and negotiations for denuclearization. Furthermore, through various development and humanitarian initiatives, the US and Japan jointly provide substantial funding for disaster relief, global health, and infrastructure projects in developing countries. Conclusion. Japan's gradual reduction of its U.S. Treasury holdings marks a significant shift aimed at diversifying its financial portfolio and decreasing reliance on the United States. This strategic move is driven by adjustments in domestic monetary policy, efforts to stabilize the currency, and a desire to mitigate risks associated with heavy exposure to U.S. debt. For Japan, this diversification represents a recalibration of its global economic strategy, fostering stronger relationships with regions like the European Union and Southeast Asia. Complicating matters is the blocked $4.9 billion acquisition of U.S. steel by Nippon Steel, which has introduced additional strain into the bilateral relationship. The Biden administration's focus on national security over economic cooperation, coupled with legal actions from both Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, has eroded trust between the two nations. Japan views this situation as a politically charged decision that overlooks shared economic interests, raising doubts about the long-term reliability of the U.S. as a business and trade partner. The potential return of a Trump administration adds another layer of uncertainty to this evolving dynamic. Known for his protectionist stance and America First approach, President-elect Trump has previously criticized Japan for its trade surpluses and alleged currency manipulation. If these views persist, they could heighten tensions, particularly regarding trade agreements, defense contributions, and investment policies. Under Trump's leadership, the U.S. may adopt a more transactional stance towards Japan, demanding greater concessions in trade and defense, while closely monitoring foreign investments for national security concerns. This scenario could drive Japan to further accelerate its diversification efforts, seeking robust economic and strategic partnerships with countries like India, Australia, and EU member states. The current discussions surrounding frameworks such as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, present Japan with a significant opportunity to lessen its dependence on the US-led global order. As the Trump administration is set to assume power, the future of Japan-US relations hangs in the balance. Economic disputes, national security issues, and differing strategic approaches highlight a relationship that stands at a pivotal juncture. The ability of these long-standing allies to overcome current challenges and strengthen their partnership hinges on their skill in balancing domestic priorities with their mutual commitment to global stability and prosperity. At this moment, the way ahead seems unclear, and the stakes have reached unprecedented levels. Outru, thank you for tuning in to this video. We truly appreciate your presence today. If you found our content meaningful or inspiring, we would be grateful if you could show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement is incredibly important to us. Don't forget to check out another video from our channel that's currently displayed on your screen.